Welcome to the Ariza Inspire Podcast, a space where we slow down, even though it's hard to sometimes, and talk honestly about mental health, healing, and the parts of ourselves we're still trying to understand. Because we all know mental health is a continuum. Some days are good, some days are bad, and when it's bad, we need to chat. I'm Samantha, a licensed professional counselor, but no, this isn't therapy. Don't get scared, don't turn off. This is just a safe place to find some answers to mental health questions we all have. And today we're digging into a really important one. Why don't more people go to therapy? Now, on the surface, that question might sound simple, like maybe it's just about time or money or not knowing where to start. And sure, let's not discount those. Those are real factors. But when you peel back the layers, kind of like the layers on an onion, like Shrek said once, you'll find something deeper. A whole mix of emotional, cultural, and psychological barriers that keep people from reaching out, even when they want to. So today, we're going there. We're talking about the fears, the misconceptions, the shame, and all that invisible weight that makes asking for help feel so heavy. So let's start with something that affects so many of us: cultural and generational stigma. So stigma is defined as a set of negative and unfair beliefs that a society or a group of people have had about something. Though therapy is a term heard more freely now, it's not free of that stigma. And stigma is something that we are dealing with, whether we realize it or not. It's kind of this under the covers, kind of subconscious thing that we're all aware of, whether we want to bring it to our conscious awareness or not. For generations, therapy was seen as something only for crazy people. That word, crazy, gets thrown around so casually, but it carries so much damage. I mean, even as a therapist, I hear the word crazy and I use it too. I gotta be honest, it's such an easy word to use, but it really kind of sets the stage for things that are not so great. These concepts are still so deeply ingrained in our day-to-day and in ways we don't realize. Biggest example of stigma I can bring to you right now is Halloween. Think about it for a second. When you were driving around looking at all these places, these scary places to go into, I'm pretty sure you saw a lot of haunted asylums, right? So that's the thing. Why is an asylum the thing we're thinking of? Why is it an asylum, this scary place? Think about it for a second. Because this is just one way that stigma can show up for us. It's kind of covert, it's kind of low-key, but we all understand what it's implying. Not for nothing, though, older generations often didn't have the language or resources to talk about mental health, which means they just didn't. Pain was just swept under the rug. You sucked it up. You kept it moving. And if someone did seek help, God, they were labeled, they were whispered about, the chismosos were just talking about them, gossip was going around, and they were shamed. And when you grew up in that kind of environment, where emotions are hidden, where pain is private, and help is a dirty word, you absorb those messages. Whether you realize it or not, those things become a part of who you are and get written into your instruction manual of life. Even if you know better now, even if you believe in therapy on an intellectual level, that emotional residue sticks around. It's kind of like in your brain, you're like, this is a good idea, but your body just kind of rejects it. You can't get behind it. You know all of the reasons why, but something still doesn't feel right to you. You might hear a voice in your head saying, if I go to therapy, it means I failed. Or, I should be able to handle this on my own. That voice, it's not you. It's inherited. But it feels like you, which is very confusing, because it feels like your own voice saying these things to you, but it's not. It's something that the past has written for you to say to yourself. And that's what makes it so hard to challenge. Then there's that internalized belief that needing therapy equals being broken, that something must be fundamentally wrong with you if you can't just deal. I really can't express how this feels to me, because as a therapist, I can tell you how many times I've heard this. I've heard it maybe at least once every new client. I've heard it from people I talk to. I've heard these statements and these ideas so many times. And as a therapist, it gets me very frustrated because I'm like, that's not the point. I feel like screaming it sometimes. That's not the point. Because I can't tell you how many people I've talked to who have said some version of, other people have had it worse, or I'm just being dramatic. That tendency to downplay our own pain, to compare it, to minimize it, dismiss it, it's one of the biggest reasons people don't seek help. And I specialize in a trauma therapy. So when I bring up the word trauma, it really kind of scares people. I get it. And a lot of people don't think that the things they've experienced would be considered trauma. So they try to shut me down a lot of times, to be honest. That's why kind of my definition of trauma has become something that has left you forever changed. Because one person's trauma is different than another person's trauma. What changed you might not change somebody else. So yes, you didn't get kidnapped or live in a war-torn country, but something happened to you that has changed your trajectory and outlook on your own life. Because this is the thing. Pain isn't a competition. You don't need to hit rock bottom to justify caring for your mental health. Therapy isn't reserved for crisis. You don't have to be on your last leg, your last nerve, at the end of your rope. It's for confusion. It's for growth. It's for those moments where your thoughts feel tangled and your emotions don't make sense. It's for when you think no one else in your life can understand or hear you out. And let's be honest, those moments happen to everyone. But there's another reason people hold back. I mean, besides all of the stigma that we bring around with us and all this emotional junk that we carry with us from our parents, from our culture, from society, there's another big reason. People don't actually know what therapy is. One of the things that I do when I start a session is I ask them if they've been to therapy before, if they want what I call the spiel, which is kind of like that intro to therapy, covering all my bases kind of thing. And people do appreciate it because a lot of times they don't know what's going on because there's a lot of confusion about what happens in a therapy room. People imagine lying on a couch while someone with glasses nods silently and takes notes. And I literally fit that glasses dynamic, which is hilarious. I mean, countless shows portray therapy as such. Or they fear they'll be interrogated. Or they'll have to talk about their childhood right away. Or worse, that they'll be judged. At this point in my career, I literally can sit there and look at my clients and see when they're trying to reword something in a way that they think I will accept it. Or they try to anticipate my question and clarify before I can speak. But that's the thing. Therapy has evolved so much. There's so many styles, so many approaches. We have somatic therapy. We have trauma-informed approaches, mindfulness practices, coaching hybrids, which is not necessarily therapy, but a way to assist in your life. But many people still think it's only for deep, dark, crisis level stuff. And bringing those things up can be very hard. The idea that you have to have a diagnosis or even be prescribed medication in that first session scares people away. Medication is another hot topic in mental health where it's like, if I see a therapist, are they going to say I'm screwed up forever and I need to take this medication for the rest of my life? Which therapists can't prescribe medications, so that shouldn't be a worry. But yeah, sure, it does help with those things. Therapies help those who have been diagnosed with mental health conditions. But it's not just for that. It's a space where you can explore yourself, where you can sit in silence You can cry, you can laugh, you can even say, I have no idea where to start. And a good therapist will meet you right there. They'll hold space for you as you try to uncover what is happening with you. They will shine lights in places that have been hiding. They're your assistant, your support. I always like to say to my clients, I'm here for whatever you need me to be here for. And I would love to work myself out of a job. So therapy can be what you need in that moment. But that's a thing. It's about self-judgment. Let's talk about that self-judgment that kicks in when someone even considers asking for help. Because we live in a society that prizes independence, where I got this is practically a badge of honor. From a young age, we're told to be self-sufficient, to solve our own problems, to man up or tough it out. And the craziest part about this idea is it starts in infancy. It starts with little babies, fresh-born babies. Because I think about when I had my daughter, I started reading about sleep. And yes, I'm slightly anxious, so I did a lot of research about baby things, and she's sleeping and I'm on the internets, which probably not the best idea when you're sleep deprived. But I read a ton of articles about how to get her to sleep independently in the crib without me. And that's the thing, that was the goal. That's what everybody was writing about or selling courses on or talking about, is how to get your baby to sleep on their own. Those acts of like rocking your baby or shushing, giving them a pacifier, or even just holding them as they fell asleep would be seen as a crutch. Something that I would have to help her unlearn in the future. Come on, freshly born babies are being trained to be independent, to not depend on their mother when they're literally in the stage of life where they are the least independent. And that's the thing. So when someone hits a wall, emotionally, mentally, physically even, they often feel ashamed. They think they should be able to fix it themselves, that they can handle it, or that they're supposed to handle it. And if they can't, they feel like they failed. Somehow we all have this concept that we are failing in life, that there's some invisible grading system or life report card that is being written in the universe, and we're all receiving an F on it. And this can be especially true for people who grew up without emotional support or were surrounded by highly critical people. These people who grew up feeling that way, that they weren't good enough, or they were only good enough if they were performing well, that these emotions that they were given are just obstacles to overcome or something to be boxed away. If you've never heard anyone say to you that it's okay to not be okay, then how would you ever know it's an option? So that brings us to another huge piece of this puzzle: self-doubt. There's a whole inner monologue that goes along with stuff like this. It sounds kind of like this. What if I'm just overreacting? What if the therapist thinks I'm too much? Because I feel like I'm too much for everybody in my life. What if they don't believe me? What if it's not that big of a deal? What if? And underneath all of that is this fear of being invalidated, of opening up and being met with silence, or even worse, misunderstanding. That fear is real, especially for people from marginalized communities who've been invalidated, judged, or dismissed when they've opened up in the past. And let's not forget the simple but painful truth. Vulnerability is hard. Saying I need help is one of the most courageous things you can do. But it's also terrifying, especially in a world that tells us strength means never needing anyone. Or even if you're scared of the idea of being disappointed. Because I know for me, that's my big thing. That I have a hard time asking for help because the question is, what if they won't help me? Then I've put myself in a position that proves to me that I'm really alone. And that is something I don't want to be proven to me that these people that I thought I could trust, I can't trust. But the truth is this: we're all wired for human connection. Humans are social creatures. Historically, we relied on tribes, villages, communities, big groups of people to support each other. In this modern life, that's not something we see very often. That kind of community support has eroded. A lot of the times, parents can't trust their parents to help them and be a part of their kids' lives, which just leaves us feeling super isolated, even when we're surrounded by people, which plays a part even in social media. Social media gives you this idea that you are a part of someone's life, that you know what's going on with someone else, but you really don't. It gives us almost this facade of connection without that real intimacy that is needed in relationship. But that's the thing, therapy can become that space where you're fully seen. When someone is listening, not to fix you, not to judge you, but just to understand. That brings that intimate relationship, that need for connection. It fulfills it. Because it's a therapist's job to be that support for you. And once people do start therapy, they mostly say the same thing. Why didn't I start this sooner? Because therapy isn't just about treating anxiety or depression. It's about learning how your mind works. It's about naming your emotions, understanding your patterns, and getting clear on what you actually want from your life. It's about rerouting things in your mind, changing your behaviors. It's about becoming the person you want to be. It helps you untangle old beliefs, like that idea that you're not worthy, you're not good enough, or even that you're always the problem. It helps you reprocess painful memories that will still have a grip on your present. It gives you those tools and strategies to face the overwhelm and give you that clarity and compassion that you want. Therapy can also be a bridge, connecting you with new perspectives, new communities, and even a deeper connection with yourself. In a world that often feels isolating, that connection can be life-changing and life-bringing. It may give you that hope that you've been missing. Most people don't walk into therapy just because everything's going great. They come in because they're lonely, because their relationships aren't working, because they're tired of feeling stuck, because something inside them says, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep doing this by myself. I can't be alone. And that voice, the one that's kind of pushing for you to move, that's your inner wisdom. That's the part of you that knows you deserve that care, knows you deserve better, knows that you can be better. Because it's not just about survival. It's about healing, wholeness, understanding, and thriving. So if you've been considering therapy, but haven't made that move yet, just know that you're not alone. Just know you're not broken for hesitating, that you're not alone in these doubts, that all those things that are holding you back are not just holding you back, but holding a lot of people back. Because you're human. And there's so many valid reasons to pause, to be unsure, to question. But that's the thing, there's also so many reasons to try. It's not just only about the things holding you back, those negative things holding you back. It's about those positive things that you can gain as well. And we don't always focus on those. You don't need to be at rock bottom. You don't need to have all the answers. All you need is the willingness to show up and a little bit of courage to start. Thanks for spending this time with me. If this episode sparked something new in you or helped you feel seen, share it with someone else who might need the same reminder. Because you deserve support. You deserve healing. And therapy is one of those ways to get there. So take care of yourself, my friends, and I'll talk to you soon.